Okay, you ready? Okay. Three, two, one. Okay. And we're live. All right. Thank you everybody for listening. This is the sixth episode of Friendly Banter. Today we have a very special guest named Matthew Zhu. Matthew, could you tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Hi everyone, my name is Matthew. I've known Jenny for like almost 4 years now, and I guess I knew about him for a couple years, but we didn't really become friends until like back in like first year because both of us went to Laurier together, and yeah, excited to be here.
Yeah, great. So today we're gonna talk about a host of different things. So we're gonna talk about the return of the NBA and NHL. We're gonna talk a little bit about university, and something that we're both interested in is entrepreneurship. And he's gonna share a little bit about a entrepreneurial venture he partook in university, which was pretty cool. And we're gonna talk a little bit about infrastructure and just some general stuff about Matthew that are very interesting that we'll dive into later.
A lot of
Okay.
things. But,
So are you excited for the return of the National Basketball Association and the National Hockey League?
uh, it took me by surprise. There's not often you hear the NBA and the NHL spelled out like that, but yeah, definitely excited. It's been long 3 months now without any like major professional sports on. So it could be a good distraction, just kind of like a good way to get people on the sense of like things getting back on track. And from a personal standpoint, just excited to watch some sports again.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, so for the audience that are not very aware, could you explain what's happening with the two leagues?
that's like obviously given everything that's going on, it's hard for these the two leagues have decided that they can't really go into the same format of that they normally do with having like teams based in different cities and like having them travel like between each other. So like what they're doing is they're creating something called like essentially a bubble. The way the bubble works is that like in the case of the NBA, they're going to like Disney World down in Orlando and having like all the playoff teams from like the Eastern Western Conference going down, as well as some of the non-playoff teams that are on the cusp. Like, what they do is like for once training camps begin, like all the players and families will kind of like isolated within like Disney World itself, and they kind of just have to like stay within the facilities of Disney World and like and then they'll play like I think 8 to 10 games like between each other to kind of determine who the eight final playoff teams are. Like this is kind of to give a chance to those teams that were like bubble teams that like on the edge of making the playoffs to see if they can like qualify to make the top eight afterwards. Then from there they should be going through a traditional like 16 team bracket with like the Eastern Western conferences, and then like going playing best of seven rounds until there's like champion, but we all know that the Raps are going to be back-to-back champions anyways. So,
Yeah, so I'm not as familiar with the NHL site, so I hear that they're doing something different and they're having multiple hubs.
yeah, so the NHL hasn't actually announced where their hub city is going to be right now.
Hmm.
But the thing they're going to do is like they're going to have two hub cities instead of like one campus like the NBA is having. And the idea is like having one hub for like Eastern Conference cities and another one for the Western Conference. One of the major differences and things right now like they still haven't necessarily announced who the two cities are, and there's kind of been like a lot of back and forth and like developments on like two places are going to be. One of the forerunners before was like Vancouver, BC, just because they have like a lot of the facilities in place to like run multiple NHL games, as well as like not being a lot of COVID cases right now in BC. Then it kind of came down to a bit of a public health issue because the province and like the NHL were having a disagreement between like if a player or like a staff was like tested or contracted like COVID-19 during the course of the playoffs, how they would necessarily react. I think the BC was kind of like a very stern approach, like you guys are gonna have to shut things down, like you can't continue to play stuff, and like don't think the NHL is necessarily like open to that, which is why they've kind of moved on from Vancouver. And some of the cities that we're hearing tossed around are like Toronto, Edmonton, Chicago, or Las Vegas. But I think Las Vegas has been a really popular option just because the way Las Vegas has a lot of the facilities in place, because they have a lot of hotels and like the players could really easily isolate.
Mm-hmm.
The main issue with Las Vegas is, of course, that there are almost as many cases in Nevada daily as there are like in Canada as a whole.
Yeah.
So, like, you'd be exposing the players like a lot more risk than like in other cities. So.
Yeah. Fair. Yeah. So I heard that the NHL there's like a lot more NHL players with COVID than NBA. Like there's like a few NBA players with COVID, but there's like more than like 20 players in the NHL that have COVID. Last I heard.
I don't know. It's kind of, from what I could tell, I don't think it was anything like anything to any like the numbers are any higher than like in other sports. Like
Mhm.
they actually have very similar numbers to like the general population. I think it was like 200-300 people tested. It was like on like the 10 to 20 case range, which is kind of like par with like the society as a whole. So I don't think I feel like it'd be kind of unreasonable to expect like these hundreds of thousands of people that would be tested during these opening phases that no one would have it. So like I think it's easy for people to react to like their favorite stars like being confirmed because like we don't necessarily know the long-term effects right now, but like I think it's kind of tricky to like pin down exactly what the numbers are and like had a very like gradual approach. Like only now our team's starting to have like overseas players coming back in.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess kind of different from the NBA. Like NHL teams are a lot bigger as well.
Yeah.
Like we have a lot more players that come from like overseas, like all players, guys from like Sweden or like Russia, stuff like that. And I think that adds like another level of like exposure and risk.
Yeah. Fair. 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 Do you think? Cause, because in NBA, right? There's skin on skin contact when you play ball. Playing hockey, you're padded up. You're is there any more security in the fact that you're not transmitting, I don't know, like bodily fluids to each other because you are fully equipped.
Or yeah, I think that definitely plays a big part of it because like it's kind of harder for you're not like kind of like up next to guys, like you're not getting like this on you.
Yeah.
At the same time, like really common occurrence is like people like just like spit or just like maybe like get in a fight, like you're kind of like you're pretty like up
Yeah.
front and up next to each other in that case. So like I guess it doesn't really eliminate the risk, and I think like any team sports as a whole kind of carry like a similar level of risk in terms of like exposure. Like I guess in theory you could say like a gear gives you a layer of protection, but like a lot of guys are usually like spitting or like you're gonna be sweating a lot
Mhm.
anyway. So like I don't think at the end of the day I don't think it makes a big difference in terms of the spread. So
Yeah. Which is gonna lead
like
me to my next stupid question, which is, so is fighting gonna be a lot more severely punished in the NHL? Because it's hockey, like there's a lot of fighting, but at a sensitive time like this, you wanna minimize contact, and fighting can definitely open wounds and can like get the COVID into places you don't want it,
um
especially
I
like.
mean I guess that's I don't think that's a dumb question necessarily. I think like that's a pretty fair like response because like it's true like you are like if you like get a cut on your face like you have some like face right in your eye like obviously that creates like certain level of contact. I think that but to be honest I don't think like I think it's such a big part of the game like such a big part of the culture that like players won't necessarily like be able to just stop.
Mhm.
Like it's hard to kind of like guys like oh don't hit each other don't punch each other and like I think a lot of people will that might take away from like the game.
Yeah.
In terms of in international hockey, like fighting is definitely like punished more severely than in the NHL, but I
Mhm.
think people kind of weigh it differently. So I highly doubt people will like away fighting, and like if the NHL they try to enforce a rule like that, might like I always hear a lot of talk about like asterisk cups, like oh this year doesn't count. Whoever wins the cup is going to have like an asterisk next
Yeah,
to their
yeah.
name, right? I think given the current format's like pretty crazy already. I think adding a rule like that would just kind of like further people's like that belief. I doubt they can really. First of all, I doubt they'll ban it, and even if they did, it would be like really difficult.
Hmm. Yeah. So I'm not a very diehard hockey fan, as you can tell. So could you explain to me why fighting is such part of a culture in hockey?
Honestly, I don't even know if I can give you a good answer. I think maybe it just boils down to like guys are aggressive. Like I haven't really looked into it. To be honest, I think
Uh
I
huh.
just kind of like out of time, but I know there is like a sense of like you have to like look out for your guys in a way because like it is very like it's a contact sport. It's like very aggressive.
Yeah.
Like oftentimes like it's not as common now, but like say, like 10, 15 years ago before like you see a lot more guys that are like forcers or like goons. Like the guys are literally paid to like up on the night on show up in a given night and, like punch base. Right? So like that's definitely not as common in the league. The league's kind of made a shift towards like high speed, like a very high speed, high skill kind of game.
Uh huh.
Like I know there are like some more like traditional fans that are saying like, oh, hockey players say they're soft, like they don't like go as hard as they used to back in the day. But I don't necessarily think that's. I think like in the NBA, there's a shift more towards like 3 point shooting than like
Hmm.
15 years ago. Like hockey's also made that similar transition of like a lot more. It's a lot quicker. It's a lot faster, more of a fast paced game now. I think that's like a pretty natural part of sports. Like there's that transition.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think a big part of it now is just like you gotta stick up for your guys. Like you have like a young superstar like a Connor McDavid or like a Sidney Crosby, right? Like these guys aren't necessarily the ones that are going punches because like you don't want Connor McDavid out for like 5 minutes, like just taking his hand on some guy's face.
Yeah.
Like the other teams, like they might try to like take runs at him, like get in his head.
Hmm.
Like kind of like fight is kind of a way of saying signaling like mess with our guys kind of deal, and like
Yeah.
I think that's a big part, just kind of sticking up for your team.
True. 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 Have you always watched sports, or like when did you start watching like all of the different major sports?
I think I started watching sports like when I was around like 10, I'd say like around 10 years old. So like I didn't growing up, I wasn't like I didn't have like my family wasn't necessarily like a big hockey fan. So like that's probably why I'm not like a Leafs fan right now because I didn't like grow up watching hockey or anything like that. But
What are you? You're a
like
Canucks fan, right?
I'm a big Vancouver Canucks fan. But yeah, I don't know. I think kind of just got into it over time and like the big moment for me was like it made me like a diehard fan. I think it was like the 2010 Olympics. That was like that Canada U.S. gold medal game. Like I'm sure like a lot of people have like very fond memories of that like gold medal game. Like Sidney Crosby with like the overtime goal to get Canada the gold medal.
Hmm.
I think that was like it was that game. Like even before then, I was like, yeah, I'd say I was a casual hockey fan. Like I'd watch like playoffs and like games here and there. But like after that, it's kind of like when I became more of a like a diehard fan, and I think that
Yeah.
was a big part of it. So yeah. Then I think I kind of got into basketball like over the last couple of years. I was mostly a hockey fan throughout like elementary school, like junior high and like high school. I think it was kind of like after second year I started watching a bit more basketball. I think it's kind of interesting because I felt like there's a lot more like storylines and like personalities you don't
Hmm.
necessarily see in like hockey because like hockey guys are kind of like a lot more like reserved, like they don't really show their personality as much. Is
Mm.
that like idea of like it's kind of like not necessarily like in some cases teams you have like an old boys club, like everyone just gives like cookie cutter answers, like generic, and like the few cases where like when players do show their like personality more, like they're not catching a lot of flack for it, so which obviously like people tend to be a bit more reserved. Like that's kind of why I started like watching a lot more basketball because like players are expressive, like they're super dynamic, like they know like they're the best and like they show that they're the best, right? Like in a sense is a bit more cockiness. Like hockey players like try to be super humble,
Yeah.
which in a sense I can see why as a team you'd like that. But like as a fan, it's kind of like fun to see like players shit talk each other and stuff like that. So
Yeah. Who's your favorite hockey player? Who's your favorite basketball player?
I favorite basketball player is definitely it's probably Kyle Lowry. Like I just see a lot of myself in him because we're both real tick boys. And had that, like that really get in your face mentality. Mostly the first part, if we're being honest, and
You want to show the audience, or you're a little reserved, like
that,
the hockey
that
players?
I don't want to get, I don't want this channel to become another, I don't want you to become another ego Twitch streamer. So if you want to see that, gotta check out my OnlyFans. But
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
drop
You
drop the
have,
link in the description.
yeah.
Drop the link in the
I'll link your
description. Don't worry.
Patreon into the sub, and then if you're a platinum subscriber on his Patreon, you'll get exclusive access to his Snapchat.
Oh yeah, I have exclusive Snapchat. Even if you're a silver level subscriber, which is only $15 a month, I'll give you a quick shout out on my next stream and get a pretty
Yeah,
good deal if you ask
pretty good
me.
deal.
Um, I think my favorite hockey player right now is this player on the Canucks named Elias Pettersson. He's
Hmm.
like super young. I'm pretty sure he's like 20, 21 years old. This is like
Wait, he's
second
younger
year
than
in the
us,
season, but he's younger than us.
dude.
Elias. Oh, that's a okay. Yeah, Elias Pettersson. He was born. No, he's also born in '98. His birthday's in November, so he's technically younger than us.
Dude, that's crazy.
Um, I think like what I really like about him is like he's a bit more of your traditional like reserved, quiet hockey player because like maybe it's like a cultural thing, but like he's like a super young player, but he's also like super dynamic and like has kind of really changed the direction of the team and like going to be like the big leader for the team and like a high skilled guy, like creates a lot of chances on the ice, like has great vision, great passing, and like it's a really fun guy to watch for sure.
Yeah.
The one thing that's really unique, like really funny about him is like Canadian hockey media is known to be like pretty intense. So like just because I think it's by virtue of like the fans and the media is so in like the Canadian market, like they really hound you on everything. They ask you a lot of dumb questions, right? One of the most famous examples of that is like Phil Kessel used to be a player on the Leafs, and like I think one time he was spotted at like a hot dog stand, and everyone made it like this reporter like from the Toronto Sun made it this like big thing that like this guy just like loves hot dogs, and he when he left the team, like when Phil Kessel finally got traded, they made this article about like hot dog stands around Toronto like crying right now. They just lost their number one customer. Like sounds ridiculous, right? But like that is like how intense fans could be, or like kind of like when people joke about like LeBron or Lakers and ESPN,
Yeah.
that's like the same way. Like in terms of, like Toronto Maple Leafs and like hockey, that's kind of like how people view it up here.
Yeah.
But the thing with Pedersen is like when the reporters ask him like dumb questions,
Hmm.
just kind of like gives them a look of like a that's a dumb question, and like it's just kind of interesting to have like actually have a player that like is traditionally very like quiet, very reserved, all out like all out the media like that. And I think it's just fun to watch and like overall, I think he's like a young dynamic player who's like
Hmm.
super competitive, super driven, and like it'll be interesting to see how like the team grows over the next couple of years. So
Sure. Yeah, that's great. So, we're gonna transition a little bit into talking about,
wait,
huh?
last point actually.
Yeah.
Obviously I know in NBA there's like a draft lottery, right?
Yeah.
Like the way the draft lottery works is like bottom 15 teams or whatever get thrown into a lottery to see like the lower you are, the higher better chance you have like picking first overall, and usually first overall is like a dynamic superstar, right?
Hmm.
So the way the playoffs are working this year, they have something called play-ins.
Yeah.
Kind of how the NBA is doing like 7 to 10 like supplemental regular season games to determine who is going to be in the playoffs. The NHL kind of went in a different direction, doing something called the play-ins, right? It's like the top 4 teams from each the Eastern and Western Conference are in the playoffs automatically.
Yeah.
From there, the bottom 8 teams in each conference have to play like a best of 5 round with like one to 8, 2 to 6, 2 to 7 kind of deal.
Uh-huh.
Like they have to do a best of 5 round, right?
Yeah.
The way that works is like whichever team wins the best of 5, they move on to like the actual playoffs. So they play like the best of 7. Like teams that like so last Friday the NHL had their like draft lottery. The number one projected player this year is this like guy from Quebec called like Alexis Lafreniere. A lot of people are super hyped about him, right?
I even heard
This
about
this
him.
year, it's
Yeah.
like Lafreniere, he's supposed to be like sick. He was like leading scorer for like the World Juniors for Canada like back in December. So a lot of people are really big on him. The crazy thing of the lottery is that like he left like, 3 placeholder spots in the lottery that would supplement like placeholder spots would be taken up by one of the teams that lost in the play-in round, right? The way the lottery played out right now, the team that won first overall is considered a placeholder team, right? Meaning of the 8 teams that eventually lose the play-in round, one of them will get the chance. Like they have a 1 in 8 chance to draft like Lafreniere, and like that's crazy because like first off, it kind of sucks because like teams that make the play-in are obviously better than like teams that were in the lottery, right?
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be super spicy, and a lot of people think that this adds like an extra level of drama just because like the super elite player, and we'll see what happens. Like it'll be interesting. I think it'll be super interesting to see him on a team like Montreal, just for like the fact that he's like a French Canadian star in Montreal. Like he'd have a super large fan base. But I think it's very very interesting. Definitely like most chaotic option possible. Um,
Wait, how are the Canadian teams doing this season?
the Canadian teams are honestly doing not bad. Like most of them made the play-ins. Play-ins is placed by like basically the top like 24 teams. So like to be honest, in order to like only the worst of the worst don't make the play-ins, right?
Yeah.
The only Canadian team that didn't make it, I think, is Montreal.
Oh, really?
No, not Montreal. Ottawa. Ottawa's the only team that didn't make it.
Oh.
Like, Ottawa's kind of been known to be pretty trash over the last couple years, anyways.
What happened to
I
the
think if
Sens?
uh bigger problem with the Senators is they have a very like micromanaging kind of owner. He's really cheap. Like he's known for being cheap. He doesn't want to like pay his players. Like just does all like meddling and kind of scummy things. And then like 2 years ago, Ottawa was like a top tier team, but then like ended up trading all their guys just because they didn't want to pay the big contracts. They have a lot of good prospects right now, but like unless they get a new owner, be in that awkward spot for a while. So
Sad.
it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting, but it's always nice to have more Canadian teams.
True. I don't watch hockey, but I hate the Bruins.
That honestly, that's all you have to know. Like no one likes the Bruins. The only people that like the Bruins are like if you live in Boston.
Do people from Boston even like the Bruins?
I think so. I feel like being a Boston sports fan is like pretty comfortable. Like
You're so
you get so much
spoiled.
success.
Yeah, it's like, oh wait.
You know? Did you see
Sorry, yeah.
Cam Newton sign with the Patriots?
Oh yeah. When was that?
Yeah. I think it was a couple days ago. Like obviously, like Cam Newton's not like Cam Newton of a couple years ago because he's had a lot of injuries, but like
Uh huh.
still like an MVP. He was still like an MVP level quarterback at one point. So like,
Yeah.
it'd be interesting. So I'm kind of curious, as an outsider, like as someone that doesn't watch hockey, why don't you like the Bruins? Like, what have you like heard about them? Like, what is your impression?
No, every time I feel like every time I've seen a Canadian team versus our Bruins in the playoffs. It hasn't gone well. Because I'm Canadian, right? So I'm always rooting for the Canadian team, but I feel like they've always had their number against us, I guess. And I just naturally don't like the
I think
Bruins.
that's mostly just like Toronto, to be honest. Over the last couple of
Hmm.
years, they become kind of a meme at this point where they just lose to the Bruins in like the first round of the playoffs. But I know they're definitely not a popular player because obviously like, they're so successful for so long. Like they're kind of like hard, very like almost like aggressive, dirty team. So
Yeah.
not the most popular in the league for sure. But
Yeah. Yeah. Who has the most uh trophies in NHL?
Montreal Canadiens had the most Stanley Cups.
Oh really?
The Canadians had the most Stanley Cups, but it's kind of hard to like. The weird thing about judging Stanley Cups is that like it's hard because like when Montreal won a lot of their cups, like back in the days when there's only 6 teams,
Oh really?
it's a lot easier to win a Stanley Cup when there's 6 teams versus like 31 today, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. The hard thing, I think I watched a Vox video before, but like a lot more parity in hockey. Like you'll never see like
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
a 73-9 team, the 2016 Warriors,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
I think because like one guy, like as good as like one player could be, they can't like dominate the game the same way, like the same
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
Like in basketball, like LeBron James could play like the whole game, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And there's
Like
just
no
low
matter
sample
how,
size. Well, not low sample size, but
yeah,
like you just have a low scoring game, right? Like if you
yeah,
like a puck like randomly deflects off something and it goes in, like you win by 1-0. But like the only thing that matters is the win.
yeah.
Yeah, but in like high
Like
scoring games like basketball and like tennis and
yeah,
stuff, like you always have the same winner. Yeah.
it'd be like consistent like throughout the game, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
one lucky bounce, like one lucky shot won't like usually won't make the difference between like winning or losing, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Like even the best players, like at most they play like 20 to 25 minutes, and that's like usually on the higher end, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't even play half, like you can't even play half the game. And that's like finding a guy to like the last bone, really. So it's definitely a lot more parity. So it's harder to have like consistent teams that win. Like you don't see like the same couple teams in like the playoffs,
Mhm. Wait, geez.
at least not in the finals.
So like the most the player can play is like 20 to 25 minutes.
Not obviously
Like I mean like
it
yeah,
goes into
physically.
overtime.
Yeah, yeah.
Like not the most. Like obviously, I think like over the course of like, the season, like an 82 game season, like don't see a lot of guys going over like 25 minutes.
Yeah. That's a pretty intense sport then. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, and then I think the big thing is like I just searched it up. The highest average time on ice last season, like this season,
Yeah.
was 26 minutes, right?
Yeah.
That means this player averaged like 26 minutes every game, which is honestly like that's a lot, but that's like the highest, right? Like
Yeah.
highest in the entire league. That's
Yeah.
usually for like defensemen as well, right?
Yeah.
Like usually forwards don't play as much.
For sure.
The highest for a forward, I'm looking at it, it's closer to like 20 minutes really. It's usually only like the defensemen that play those like 20 plus minutes. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely tiring sport. That's why like most of the time you go for like a 45 second to like a minute and a half shift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shift. Wait, is it like actually called a
But
shift?
a shift, yeah.
Oh really? Okay.
It's like in basketball, like you know like how people don't do like you won't do a full court press most of the time, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because
You're
like
always
it's
doing a
it's
full court
really
press, aren't you?
it's kind of like when you're going back on like defense, most guys just like run back, right?
Yeah.
You're not kind of like make get like that get a rebound back on their end.
Yeah.
Like if you had to run back and forth like that, it would be like super exhausting.
Yeah.
Like in hockey, kind of like you have to like be hard on the puck like that, right?
Yeah.
So,
Fair. Yeah, and you always like absolutely going full speed.
yeah,
Uh,
like you won't get caught standing around as often either, right?
fair. 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 Yeah, that's true. Yeah, in basketball, like you like you defend a little, and then you go stand in the corner, and hopefully LeBron passes you the ball. If he doesn't, you just watch him shoot it, and then you run back again. Yeah.
Yeah, like there's a lot more time like laying up plays. Like outside, like I think it's a little bit different because like it's a bit more structured. Like teams like if you have like a really good point guard that's like like a facilitator, kind of like take the time with the ball and like let the player like the rest of the team get in like position. In hockey, like you have like unless you're on like power play, but like, usually it's kind of like as opportunity comes, like I have to make the most of it. That's kind of
Yeah.
why like you see a lot more like elite players in the league are like ones that are super creative and like like have a lot of like really good skaters and like really good like puck handlers
Yeah.
because it's like making up like you don't have time to set up all the time usually, so you have to like players that have like good vision or like creativity like usually excel.
Fair. 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 Yeah. That's true. Yeah. So I wanted to talk about like your. Okay. So Matthew here did a pretty cool entrepreneurship venture in his university. It's called Ursut, and I'm gonna just let him talk about what it was.
Uh, First off, check us out at earthsets.co to get our products now. A quick plug, link in the description as well. Um, yeah, so
I'm gonna
Earthsets
search up right
is like
now.
a collection
I'm
of
gonna go through there right now. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Go.
search it up right now. What it is like it's a line of single-use toiletries. Like it's basically these little like one by one cubes essentially that you have to crush, lather, and like wash like normal shampoo. It comes in different like traditional variants. Like you got your shampoo, conditioner, and body wash. And the main appeal of this is that like we're looking to like eliminate the plastic waste that comes from like small format plastics that you get see in hotels. Oftentimes, like when you go to a hotel, you get like those little plastic toiletry bottles like for to go. Like the big thing that, and for a lot of people, like usually you just like throw it out afterwards, or you take it home with you or whatever. Main thing is like afterwards, there's a lot of contamination within the products itself, as well as like their small size makes it impossible for them to be recycled. And I'm forgetting the pitch now, but like this creates like billions of pounds of like plastic waste every year. Like since due to their small size, they can't be properly recycled. These kind of like put through like containers and they get grinded down into microplastics that eventually enter our oceans.
Yeah.
Like we our co-founders like Lisa and Dan like they saw this as a big problem and they wanted to create like a waste-free alternative to these plastic bottles. That's kind of why we created Earthsuds. So it's like these single-use tablets you can bring with you. Like you can see them at like if you have them at a gym, like at a hotel, something that can like bring with you like when you're on the go. You kind of created this like built this like sustainable business model in terms of like a lot of people talk right a lot of companies right now talk about like a triple bottom line, but like it says we definitely do like carry that mindset in terms of like being sustainable in all aspects. Of course there's like environmental aspect of like sustainability. Like one thing that we did that was unique was like partner with another Enactus Lorry venture called Mighty Hawks.
Yeah.
What Mighty Hawks does is it provides workplace training and like opportunities as well as like workplace training as well as financial literacy to like adults with disabilities. One of the major issues facing adults with disabilities is that it's really hard for them to get like tangible work skills and tangible work experience.
Yeah.
Like we have something called like the work readiness program where like we essentially hire adults with disabilities as well as having like members of the Mighty Hawks team come and like kind of this provides gives them a chance to like get that workplace experience and like developing those skills and like had a couple like graduates from our program already, where like they've gone on to like get their own like full time or like part time job afterwards, like outside of like Laurier, and like that's been super exciting, super cool to see. So,
That's really cool.
and this past May, like part of Enactus, part of Ursa's is like we're under a club called Enactus Laurier.
Yeah.
Like Enactus is like this worldwide organization that focuses on like creating social entrepreneurship within students. This past May was like national conference for like Enactus Canada, where we kind of like compete against all the other teams in across Canada to see like who has the best like sustainable business ideas as well as who has driven the most impact in the last year. And usually there are like 60 like around 65 to 75 teams that compete across like schools that compete across Canada. And exciting for us, Enactus Laurie finished first this year across Canada. This is like our first win in like over 15 years now, so it's super exciting. Great opportunity for the team and like an event represent Canada later on at the Enactus World Cup. Originally, it was going to be in Amsterdam, which would have been a super cool experience, but looks like we're going to be doing it virtually this year, but still super pumped. So,
Yeah. Dude, that would be so sick going to Amsterdam.
yeah, and like I think the cool thing I learned from this, like, I know it's a competition, but just seeing like what some of the other schools are doing is like super cool too.
Hmm.
There's this one school, called St. Mary's University. They're out like in the East Coast,
Yeah.
and they do like they do a lot of like trade-in programs with like local businesses and local restaurants, and they focus more on like food waste. They
Hmm.
have like their own line of like products such as like beer that's like made from like unused like carrots or something, and then they have like these token programs where like people can go to like a restaurant after hours and like get trade in these tokens for like any like leftover food they have. So like the one thing I really like the competition part of an act is just it's fun to see like your work pay off at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Also kind of exciting just to see like what some of these other schools are doing and like it's really like there's some really exciting stuff going on around across Canada, especially around like sustainability and like financial education.
Oh yeah. So yeah. So besides those two, well, what around financial education?
In terms of the main things I see around like financial education across Canada is like there's a lot. Also, the schools kind of run some iteration of like a workshop either for like adults or like students.
Hmm.
One of the other schools that we saw was like I think it was Okanagan based out of BC. They did something around like do these like programs for like they go into schools and do like workshops for high school students and to kind of better teach them about like budgeting and like financial education.
Hmm.
Kind of like even here in Ontario, we've had that like native movement. Like I'm not sure if you heard, but like recently, like Ford announced that like there's gonna be changes to like the Ontario like elementary
Oh
school
yeah,
curriculum
yeah.
in Ontario. A greater emphasis on like coding and like financial education, and I think like that's super important. Like I know there's like a lot of people talk about it, like online, like oh, like the school system never prepared me to like learn about like credit cards work or like how budgeting is and like all that like as well as like working towards like financial goals. I think like super exciting to see like province kind of come out and like make show that this is like an important life skill, and I think it's something that like
Hmm.
a lot of people should know like learn about like earlier rather than later. So yeah, super exciting stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not trying to flex here, but what do you feel learning financial literacy? Because I feel like I've forgotten what it's like to not know. You know what I mean?
I think we definitely come from like a different perspective in like terms of in terms of like our personal knowledge about financial
Yeah.
literacy. Like I guess one example could be like remember in like first or second year like finance courses when we learn about like time value of money.
Sure.
Like the idea that like a dollar today is worth more than a dollar tomorrow just from like as simple as like compounding interest.
Sure, but like, you- yeah. I was gonna make a joke, but that doesn't even matter anymore because the feds will just buy all the bond rates, and then your lease rates will go to zero and it'll be negative interest rates, and it doesn't even matter anymore. So none of those things actually even matter. But anyways, yeah,
The crazy thing is like I don't necessarily have the statistic right off the top of my head, but like a lot of people don't necessarily have like how many like any savings at all. Like they don't understand like how interest rates like compound savings, compounding interest rates really work. I think we've had like coming as from the perspective of business, we've had so much exposure to it. Like not even beyond like other like secondary students, but like someone that's like didn't have any experience at all in like not even like another subject, but no like didn't have any education past high school. Like they never took a business course, right? They don't understand the idea of like what an annuity payment is, like how to like working towards these like larger financial goals. Like could be a reason like a mobility. Like they didn't see it like I can never like they might think I can never afford to buy a house. Like I can never make mortgage payments because they don't know what that looks like.
yeah,
Like it makes it a lot more like challenging, right?
yeah,
Like I know like a lot of teachers joked about it before, but they'd be like, yeah, whenever I go to a car dealership, I pull out my spreadsheets. I can calculate like based on what rates and like what payments they give me if I'm paying more than like the original principal, right? I know it's a bit of a meme, but like if you didn't know that, like people could get looped into like something that they think is like a good
yeah,
deal, but
yeah,
like
for
not
sure.
necessarily, obviously not, right? That's kind of why I see a lot of programs like pay to own.
Mhm.
Pay to own is like simple stuff like a PS3 or like a TV. You pay like 20-30 bucks a week for like I don't even know how long, but like people don't understand. Like it's easy for people to see like that short term like
Yeah,
payment. They don't necessarily budget or like understand like long term impacts of like paying that amount. It's kind of like or like when
yeah,
people oftentimes like when you pay for your phone, like you see $1 upfront free, like whoa, free phone. Like obviously
okay,
not a
yeah,
free
yeah,
phone. Like you pay
yeah.
for it, like
I agree. Actually,
you end up
yeah.
paying like double, triple the amount, right? And like
Hmm.
I think financial education kind of shows like helps people understand what these costs are and like better help them like realize how like if they can like achieve their personal.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I definitely think it's really important. I just don't know where to start. You know what I mean? Because I feel like there's so many different components of it. Like there's like time value, there's like theoretical stuff, like the time value of money and stuff. But then like a huge part of it is about like the practicality of it instead of like the theory, right? A huge part of it is just like yeah, like how to efficiently allocate your personal capital and stuff like that, right? Yeah.
I think like from what I've seen, a big part of all these curriculums involves like budgeting.
Hmm.
And budgeting is the big one, and like understanding how like credit cards and the credit works.
Yeah.
Obviously, like that's why you see like stories of people that have like monstrous like credit card debt because like it's hard to like visualize it like when it's so like when you have tap like Apple Pay, it's like so easy to just be like boop
Yeah.
$10, boop $10, right? And like
Yeah.
unless you have like I mean like unless you have like an app like something to like help you visualize that, then like it's like it's really easy for people to get like caught underneath. So
Yeah. I agree. Yo, honestly, I feel like a huge part of the like the Western financial system is like really caved in by like just like people who are not very educated financially, and then like getting roped into
right,
like uh payday check companies, like what do you call it?
day loans.
Pay loans, yeah. Payday loan companies, yeah.
Yeah.
Payday loan companies, yeah.
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 It's funny that you mentioned payday loans because like I have a, I've had a very like back and forth like thoughts on payday loans.
Dude, me too. Let's talk about that.
All right, because like I know some people say like if you look at if a neighborhood is getting more payday loan stores, like kind of a sense that like this might be like heading in the wrong direction.
Yeah, 100%.
Like I understand like what it, like basically it preys on like most vulnerable people like financially. Some people think like these things are evil, like they're charging these people that are like poor to be in with like exorbitant amounts of like interest and like people like strapped with this debt for life. Like
Yeah,
in one sense, and then people are like shut these stores down, like they're just toxic for the community, like they're no good, like they don't help anyone.
yeah,
Like that's kind of like that was the stance that I kind of had on it first, right? I was like, these things are completely predatory, like they don't help people.
yeah,
Like I've also seen like again, this is completely anecdotal because like I've been fortunate enough that I have to like deal with them like myself personally, but like I also understand that like the role that they play. Like not everyone is getting looped into these like schemes, like these like this constant caught in the debt, but it's like sometimes like some people just like they're really desperate, like they know like as the name implies, like their payday is not going to come for like another week. Like they just have to put food on the table. Like they had some like major expense come up. That's kind of like why they might like they honestly will have no other options to turn to. That could be a complete like that could be a completely different question of like why do we like having like a social safety net in terms of like the system that we're in right now. I think if we like play a pretty like important role in terms of like but like yes, a lot of people do get caught in these like interest traps, but at the same time like some people genuinely do have nothing left to turn to, and like it could be like a one-time thing, like they get it and then they pay it back like when they actually do get paid. And like in that sense, like I think it has a pretty important role to play in society. Like not just my case thought on it, like and I think that kind of going back to what we said earlier, why we do need that like greater understanding of financial education because like people could be walking to these places seeing like, oh, I'm getting $200 for free. Like that's all they see. It's going back to like similar to a credit card, right? Like
yeah,
people see it as like free money, but like obviously that's not the case. And then like so or like they don't understand like what interest payments are. Like they think I'm paying these guys money every week or every month. Why do I still owe them so much money, right?
yeah,
I don't know. I think that's kind of my thoughts on it. Like, what do you think about it?
yeah. I agree. I basically like almost the same thing, and I feel like it's a hard line to draw on like or you just went dark. It's a hard line to draw on whether like these firms are predatory or like they're like needed because like it's just a supply and demand question. You know what I mean? Like there's people that need it, and so it supplies it, and so it functions.
Yeah.
It does its role. Like there's not like there isn't as much like evil behind it, which I agree. I think honestly, yeah, I think a lot of financial institutions get weird a weird rap that they're like predatory and that they're like crooked and stuff like that. And while that can be completely true on the general, like on general level, like there's crooked people
Right.
and there is like crooks in these organizations, but most of the industry and like I don't know, have you ever watched like a documentary on the payday loan companies?
I don't know about documentary, but I saw an episode of Dirty Money
Yeah,
Netflix
I
that kind
saw
of
the episode
covered
too.
it.
I saw the episode too. Yeah, yeah. So like, yeah, like in that episode, like the people that worked for it, like they were completely like just like happy people. Like they were just like regular people that like some of them were definitely like a little scummy. They were like, hey, let's bag these dumbasses, And so, but
Yeah.
like a lot of them, like especially the employees, like they were just doing their job. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, and it's just what it really feels like is that it feels not not a very good solution to just label it as like bad and evil. But there's definitely better ways to do this. You know what I mean? Like there's definitely better ways to fix the problem of people having very short-term and desperate like like low liquidity issues. You know what I mean? Because that's what it is. It's just like most of America and Canada, like people are living paycheck to paycheck. Like they just have like extremely
Sure.
low liquidity, and they just don't have enough money to cover like their basic expenses. Yeah.
I think that goes down to like lack of understanding, lack of like poor financial management, or is it
It's
like a wage issue?
I think it's both. I
Or
think
like is it a combination of the both?
yeah. I think capitalism, in essence, it's it's like it's ludicrous how much harder it is to get from 0 to 1 than it is to get from 100 to 1,000. Yeah, it's like like that exponential ratio is like backwards in terms of like difficulty. Like if you have nothing, it's so hard to get something, but if you have something, it's a lot easier to get something more. Yeah, and I think for these, uh, I think for the individuals that have like low cash flow issues, it's just so difficult for them to just get a little bit more cash flow so they don't have the low cash flow issues, right? Like yeah,
Yeah. Then it keeps feeding. Like the problem is like it's
yeah,
like a never ending cycle, right? Like you're strapped for cash to begin with. Now you have like an additional like line item in your like monthly expenses that like keeps clawing at your saving, like not even your savings, just like your income, right?
yeah, yeah, 100%. Yeah,
I totally agree with like what you said. Like I think for the most like a lot of times like these people aren't necessarily like people themselves. Like obviously you can't be like ignorant and be like they understand like they probably like owners understand to some degree like what they're doing, but they could also be thinking that they're doing a favor to the community. Like if you ask like, an owner, he could say something like, "Oh, we're not predatory, but like I see people coming through the store that like have no like the banks turned away from them, like everyone else turned them away, but like we're the ones that like, come to their side, right?" Like for some owners, like that could be the perspective that they're taking. I don't know, like what do you think about that?
I think that is BS. Like loans is okay. I think loans are the most misunderstood financial thing in the industry. I think people don't understand like the implication of loans, and there's good debt and there's bad debt, right? It's like um you only take on debt if your interest rate is higher than the interest rate you pay, right? Right? Like,
Yeah,
that's literally what that should be. Like you only take on the debt not because if you can't afford it, but because if you take on a debt, your ability to generate cash flow will have a higher interest rate than the cash flow that you're
like
sending
what
it.
you're paying on it,
Yeah, what
right?
you're paying out. Yeah, and people just don't really understand that basic concept. Instead, they look at loans as just like you give me money now, I give you money later, not as
Yeah.
an instrument to like propel themselves financially. Yeah,
Then people kind of like they're not necessarily like weaponizing that like capital they have, right?
yeah, yeah. And then so when those owners say like, oh, they turn them away or whatever, it's like, well, yeah, that's like they turned them away because they didn't have a way to generate cash flow using that debt to gain higher interest rate, right? And therefore they shouldn't get a loan. Like there are other solutions to get them out of the rut, right?
I'm not necessarily saying like I agree with their statement. Like
Yeah.
obviously, like if you have that understanding, like you'll know like
Mhm.
it's not true. Like there's a reason that
Yeah.
kind of like the banks rejected them. But like
Yeah.
a lot of these, like going back to what you said, like some people could see these like financial institutions as just like evil,
Yeah.
right? And maybe that could kind of like lead back to like, oh, can't trust the big like that's why they could play the role of like you can't trust the big guy. Like I'm like your local broker. I can kind of help you out, and I
Yeah.
think that's like I feel like that distrust for like large financial institutions is like big is another component of like why how people treat like how people look at their finances.
Yeah. Did you watch the episode where Scotia about Scotiabank?
Bank?
Not Scotiabank. HSBC.
Oh yeah, that was like that was in the first season too, right?
Yeah. Money laundering
Like
one?
that was the whole thing about like they had like the frauds this like wannabe fraud center or something,
Yeah.
global fraud center like in the middle of the U.S.
Yeah. And they're just money laundering for like all the gangs in Mexico and like El Salvador.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was pretty
Did you
fun.
watch Ozark?
No. What's that about?
Ozark is pretty cool, dude. Ozark is about Ozarks is like this region in the U.S. Like it's like a go for vacationing. The main thing is like the main character Marty Bird is like he works the money launderer for like it's like drug cartel and it's kind of like to find a new way of like laundering money in the Ozarks. Kind of like types of businesses he runs and like obviously like the shenanigans that he stumbles upon trying to like launder money.
Is it fictional?
It's a fictional. It's not based on a
Eh,
true story or anything. But it's
yeah.
like it's a pretty good show. I'm on the second season right now. It's kind of like it's known for like a slow burn. Like things kind of build up over time. And
Yeah.
if you like Jason Bateman, he's like the main star and like he's directs some of the episodes. So
Okay. I'll give it a view.
the first episode does like is pretty good. It's pretty it hooks you pretty well.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I'll check the pilot out. Um, yeah, yeah. So yeah, speaking on like just like having better ways to do things, right? I think that's like, I think that's kind of the way we're headed. Like, it's just like I feel like at least like every generation, they just like just find like a lot of inefficiencies with like the like old systems, right? And I feel like that's definitely true for like infrastructure around the like North America, I guess. Yeah. So what's your view on that?
In terms of like what's something that we could improve upon.
Yeah.
I guess there's a bit of a personal bias, but I think one thing that I really want to see changed is how we look at like waste and facility management.
Hmm.
So like I guess like kind of as a byproduct of like doing earth suds and like being at Laurier, like I've become a lot more like waste conscious over the years, and not a bad thing, of course, but like I'm kind of looking at how people treat like recycling essentially.
Yeah.
Like a lot of times, first off, recycling is way too hard. Is way harder than it has to be, right?
Is it?
Like that's the thing. Like if you got like like you get like say you get a sandwich from a restaurant has like paper on one side, tinfoil on the other, has like food scraps, right? Is that organics? Is it like metal because of the aluminum? Is like recycle? Is it recycling because of the paper? Is it like organics because of the food waste and like food stains, right?
That is
Like
true. I would say it's non-recyclable. Is it?
and like more often than not, like it just goes trash, right?
Yeah.
I think for most people like they want to like recycle. They don't want to like have like a high carbon like a high waste footprint. Like they
Hmm.
want to like do the best that they can, right?
Yeah.
More often than not, it's like challenging. Like, one thing for me personally is like styrofoam recyclable, like based on like what city you're in, it changes like I think whether or not like you're in Toronto or like in York region,
Yeah.
the way they look at styrofoam is like different, right? Like some places it's recyclable, some places it's not. Like the biggest thing is like hard. It doesn't have to be that hard. Like it comes down to people not understanding that like recycling is also a bit of a business. Like just because like I throw something in the blue bin and like collects it every week doesn't mean like oh I'm saving the environment. Like it's gone now, right? Like
Yeah.
ideally, like looking at like 3 R's, like ideally like we want to like reduce our overall consumption, right? As the first step. Like I think people have kind of gotten mixed up. Like you see reduce, reuse, recycle is like on the same thing. Like really, it's supposed to be like a step by step process, right? It's like like first you should reduce. If you can't reduce, like reuse it, then you recycle, right? I think in the minds of a lot of people, they've kind of become like equal. It's like, oh, I'm recycling. I'm not. How could I be doing anything wrong to the environment, right?
Yeah.
And people don't realize that like it's essentially a business, right? And like if people don't want your recyclables, and like if no one's gonna buy them, then like it's basically garbage anyway.
Uh-huh.
Right? The big like one thing that I learned from like one of my old coworkers that I never even thought about. She worked on a project that involved like improving like waste management projects for like different like a province in Canada. Like one thing that blew my mind was like you leave your recycling bin out and like it starts to snow or rain on like cardboard or paper on top. Cardboard or paper starts to like dissolve and like seep into the rest of your blue bin. Essentially, that becomes like garbage, anyways, right? Like, it's
Wait,
not something that
what?
people think about normally. Because like once the paper, the cardboard gets like all wet and soggy, then like kind of contaminates the whole batch.
Oh, really?
And like so then like because like it becomes like once paper becomes like wet, it's like not recyclable material anymore, right?
Oh, wait.
What are you gonna do with that? And like
Dry it?
like see like that's not that never even crossed my mind. Like obviously like I think I like to think I know a bit more about it now, but like going back to like earth suds and like the small plastic bottles, right? It's like, oh, the plastic bottle, I can recycle it, but like the size, the contamination means that they can't be recycled.
Uh-huh.
People shouldn't be expected to know that. At the same time, like they don't shouldn't have to like no one wants to just throw trash out. I think if we had some kind of system, like obviously ideally like people just consume less, but like we had some way of like giving people feedback like, oh, this product is like obviously not a guide, but like you scan a product, this is recyclable, this is like trash or whatever, right? Like a major cost for like recycling plants is like dissecting
Sorting?
what is and what isn't, what like sorting, right?
Yeah.
Like oftentimes like I could like in your whole batch or whatever, and then like making the whole bin like unusable. Something
Mm-hmm.
that just kind of like give people feedback on like how they're doing, I think would be like a long way. And just like the education standpoint, it's like, oh, this week of your waste, 50% is recyclable. Then like kind of like break almost like giving like gamifying it, like giving you like a breakdown of like how well you did that week.
Mm-hmm.
I think that could be. I don't know how effective that would be necessarily, but I think it could be like one solution to help people like understand what is and isn't garbage.
Yeah, fair, I agree. Yeah. I know in Asian countries, when I'm like but in like Japan, Korea, like people actually manually sort a lot more. And
Yeah.
like yeah, and then like instead of just like dumping everything into a blue bin, like when you go through all your recycling, there's like five different bins, and there's glass, there's like paper, there's
Yeah.
like cardboard, there's like I don't know what else is recyclable, like plastic bags, like whatever.
Metal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
metal, batteries. Like there's like it's like a whole rack,
Mm.
right? And people actually manually sort it.
Right.
And what has happened in North America is that like that part has been like offloaded to like the companies, right? Like you just put everything in the
Right.
blue bin, like we'll sort it, right? But because of that, people are like less scrupulous with how they recycle, and so they just dump
Mm.
everything in, and as you said before, right? Like it contaminates, and then like
Yeah.
yeah, it contaminates, and like things just don't go where they need to be. Like you don't know if it recyclable or not because like
Mm.
you never had to like learn it.
Just disappears after,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah. So do you think there's any merit to going to a more to making it even harder? You know what I mean? To make it so that
I
like
mean,
yeah.
I think Sweden has been like one of those countries that's known for like being a leader in terms of like how they look at recycling and garbage.
Yeah.
But like at the same time, it's hard to look at the Nordic countries and like, well, they get a lot of praise normally. Like everyone's like, oh, why can't we just be more like Norway or be more like Sweden and stuff? It is hard to like implement a lot of their solutions and like
Hmm.
to like the scale of like the U.S. per se.
Yeah, I agree.
But
Dude, people don't understand, dude.
I think
Norway
it's
and Sweden, they have like the population of like one small city in the US.
yeah, like even or like Iceland, they have like super low population densities. It's pretty crazy, but
Yeah.
yeah. So like I think I don't know. I feel like it's hard to make that change in people's mindset. Like as you can see, it's hard enough to get people in the U.S. and Canada on a face mask and everything that's going on. That like honestly, like I don't know if I'm being like if I'm too jaded here, but like are people really going to be willing to like change how they throw stuff out? You know what I'm saying? Like it's like some people could see it like as more work than before. Like some people now are too lazy to like, even like sort their recyclables and like garbage and like compost, right? Like
Yeah.
definitely made it more complex. People be more willing to do it.
Yeah. I agree.
Like we're putting all the onus on like the people themselves to like do the
Hmm.
action. Like it's tricky. Like maybe like honestly, I don't know. Like, people are being a lot more like mindful now. Like maybe they could surprise everyone, but like I feel like it's
Yeah.
kind of hard to predict.
Yeah. Yeah, people always harp on Karens, but if you think about it, why moms actually do so much social and like sustainable initiatives? Just food for thought.
Honestly, like I don't think like I think what was the term like wasp?
What's WASP?
It's like um wasp person is a like Anglo-Saxon Protestant. It's kind of been like wasp is like a term for like generic like it's kind of like your can like you're very like your generic suburban like
Yeah, yeah,
white mom kind of thing, right?
yeah.
Like also like they are very like sustainably minded people, right? Like maybe they're like pushing an MLM, like maybe like the people that are pushing MLMs, but like multi-level marketing schemes. But it's also like some people are like very sustainably focused, right?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Yeah, do you see where do you see the future of like transportation, I guess?
Part of me wants to say like I want to see it, like AVs are obviously like the big flashy answer, right? Like everyone's like AVs are the future, and like a lot of cars are like, especially like with the increase in like lidar technology and like AVs like the cool flashy answer, but
Okay,
like
for the
honestly,
audience, AV stands for autonomous. Yeah, okay. Keep going.
autonomous vehicles.
Yeah.
Like part of me thinks like autonomous vehicles are like super cool, right? Like there's so many benefits in terms of like safety, like reduce congestion, like improve productivity, like a lot of like tangible benefits to them, right? But timeline wise, like I don't know, like it's take like we don't even have mass adoption of like electric vehicles yet, which like honestly I could see that have come in a couple of years. Like it's been so hard in Canada to roll out like charging stations, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of times when you roll out a charging station that's like an electric vehicle, that's like its own, right?
Hmm.
If we want to make the biggest part of like autonomous vehicles is like having smart intersections and like connected cars,
Yeah.
and like in order for like go like think of how like one intersection like improving one intersection in like a major city takes forever, right? Like you have to do a lot of like road improvements, like a lot of like road construction, road redesigns to like people to truly be like really embrace autonomous vehicles.
Yeah.
I think we might see it in like some capacity, like connected vehicles, like you can like communicate with like other cars to like avoid like collision detection kind of stuff. But like it's like still be like you'd still need a driver, like some form of driver intervention.
Yeah.
Like I don't think like autonomous vehicles are cool, but I still think it's a long ways ahead. Like I know the technology will definitely be there sooner rather than later. Like with most things, it'll take a while for like the policy and like the infrastructure to catch up.
Yeah.
I know here in Ontario we're pretty like receptive of this technology and like embrace it, but like at the same time, it'll take a while. So I guess like personally, I'm a pretty big fan of mass transportation. So kind of like your subways or like your
Uh-huh.
LRTs.
Yeah.
Like again with all this COVID-19 stuff going on, like public transportation has seen like a huge decrease in like numbers, right?
Yeah.
You see a lot of reports like, is this the death of public transportation? Like like reasonably so, like people are like not comfortable being in like a tight confined space with other people right now, right?
Yeah.
I think it'll be interesting to see how transportation bounces back. But like personally, I would like to see a place more mass transportation focused and see or like seeing something like mobility as a service.
Yeah.
There's this one company in Finland. I think they're called WHIM. Where like they're one of the big providers of like mobility as a service, right? Kind of
Wait.
right now, if you go on Google Maps,
Wait. What's mobility? Is Uber a mass?
uh, uh, um, mobility as a service is more so like it's not just like taxis and Ubers. Like you pay like some fee, and it kind of like when it'll redirect you to like the quickest and cheapest way to get somewhere using like a mixed modal like method, right? It's like first you take the subway from here to here, then you take the bus from here to here.
Uh
Like
huh.
it's less about like each individual component, but more so like how they work in like conjunction with one another to like get you to where you want to go.
Okay.
Why you see it's why you saw the popularity of stuff like Lime or like bird scooters because they're like last mile technologies, right?
Yeah.
The stuff that gets you from like your bus stop or your train station to like the front to your office.
Yeah. I think that's the best appeal about AVs is
Mm.
that the problem with mass transportation is that um, there's a quote that Elon Musk says is that the reason he hates high speed train is like he said you have to go to a place you don't want to go to another place that you don't want to be go to the place where you do want to be. As in like you have to go to the
Yeah,
train station and then and to go to another train station and you have to go from the train station to like wherever you want to go, right? Whereas cars
yeah.
like you
It's
yeah
tricky.
yeah
I think that's why people right now like cars, like so convenient, right? Like
yeah
get to like the front door of a place.
yeah yeah I agree. Yeah. Um, yeah, so we're already been talking for hours. So I want to thank you for coming on. This is a great episode. So let's cap it off with so so Matthew here. I've always wanted to become a store owner. So let's cap it off with what kind of store do you want to open?
Oh, that's a hard question. I don't know what kind of store I want to own. Um, I don't know. I think also like I can have. I'll be honest. I don't have like right idea in mind.
Oh, actually, wait. Let's
Restaurant.
how about we talk about your second career in comedy?
Right. I'll talk about my comedy career instead.
Oh yeah,
Um, after this hour, as I'm sure your audience can tell, I'm really engaging and funny person to talk to. Like, it's a just a great personality overall, right? Like, real humble, down to earth kind of guy too.
oh yeah,
Um, the longest time I thought about being a comedian, right? So I'm like, it was like during my second call or something. I'm just sitting in my train, like sitting on the go train to work, writing down lines, like writing down bits, like, oh, man, that's hilarious. That's the best joke ever. So I'm just sitting there writing my little jokes. And like I went up to one of my friends and I was like, yo, got a great bit for you right now. So like I'd sit there, go like a 5-10 minute tangent of just like of like awkward pauses in between of like me trying to be funny. And from that experience, I kind of found out that yeah, I'm not as funny as I like to think I am.
I agree. Do you remember when you did it? When you did your bit to me and Jasmine that one day? Dude.
And everyone got up, started clapping, cheering, like
Yeah,
that's what
yeah.
happened, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Yeah, so sorry, continue.
Yeah, I think over time I've learned that like where I can really shine is not as a stand-up comedian, but like what makes me so funny is like my quick wit, my ability to react to things, my ability to play off of other people. That's why I kind of thought maybe I should write a sitcom. Then like 2 seconds later I realized I'm not gonna write a sitcom. That'd be stupid. Like after putting a little bit more thought, it's like maybe like something that I really wanted to do for a long time. Improv class.
Yeah.
Like again, I improv classes are not running right now.
Uh-huh.
So that dream's
Dude,
kind
we
of
can
down the drain.
we can do a little improv right now, if you want.
I didn't go to the class yet, man. I don't know what to do.
Well, improv. It's just improv, dude. There's no.
I gotta learn. But I realized that I think one thing that I could really shine at is like those reaction YouTubers.
Really.
Like first off, some people see them as like overly dramatic and a little annoying sometimes. So I already checked that box off. I'm like, I definitely do that. So no problem.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I agree.
And like reaction YouTubers, I get that chance to like play off of something, but at the same time, like I have something to play off of, but at the same time, like I'm creating like I have like my jokes written and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can like if I'm reacting, like it looks like I'm watching the video live, like I can still give the impression witty reaction.
Yeah. All right, I like it.
Hey
Well,
guys, today we're gonna pwn these TikTok losers. Guys, have you guys seen this new TikTok trend called?
okay.
Give you a little preview, but
Thank you everyone for listening to the sixth ever episode of Friendly Banter. Really enjoyed this episode. Thank you for coming on, Matthew.
this will be the last episode because like after this peak, it's all going downhill.
All right, thank you for listening. We'll see you guys next week. Have a good day. Bye.